Let's talk about other services under Azure Storage account. Blob, queues, and file storage to be precise. Let's start with the blob storage. Azure Blob Storage is optimized to store massive amounts of unstructured data in the cloud. Azure Blob Storage is widely used by Microsoft Azure clients and also internally by Microsoft Azure. For example, you can upload several documents to Azure Blob Storage and access them directly by the browser. Each document uploaded to the blob storage can have a unique URL which can be used by the clients with the right key or token to access the file. Also, Azure Blob Storage is widely used for data backup and restore. Many Azure services, for example Azure SQL Database, are storing their backups into Azure Blob Storage. These backups can be kept for up to 10 years. Audio and video files can be uploaded to Azure Blob Storage and clients of these files can access and stream them. Also, this service can be used to store data for analysis. For example, you can store huge amount of raw data in the Azure Blob Storage and configure Azure Stream Analytics to access and analyze this raw data. The output of Azure Stream Analytics can also be saved into Azure Blob Storage. Both manual application log files and Azure log files can be stored into Azure Blob Storage. And finally, you can store files into Azure Blob Storage for distributed access. Azure Blob Storage can automatically scale when the demand increases. Let's talk about Azure Storage Queues now. Azure Queue Storage is a service for storing large number of messages. You can access these messages via authenticated calls using HTTP or HTTPS. The queues are vastly used. In general, you can use queues to create a backlog of work to process asynchronously. For example, passing messages from a web role to a worker role. Imagine you have a website that converts bitmap images into JPEG. Users can upload their files and they will get the JPEG version of their image in the email. Converting a bitmap image to JPEG can be time consuming and you might not be able to convert thousands of files synchronously. What you can do is per each bitmap conversion request, you add a message to your Azure Queue Storage and you have your converter worker role reading these messages and do the conversion. Let's talk about Azure Files. Azure Files offer fully managed file shares in the cloud that are accessible via the industry standard Server Message Block or SMB protocol. I am sure most of you used shared drives at work. There is an on-premises file server. Your network administrator is mapping those drives to your machine and then you can simply drag and drop files. You can do exactly the same with Azure Files. You just create a new file share under Azure Storage and then you can map it to your local machine. So Azure Files can be used to replace on-premises file servers. This is great if you are using legacy applications which use shared files and you want to lift and shift them to the cloud. You can simply migrate the files from your on-premises file server to Azure Files and point your application to use this new storage.